Hello, my name's Natalie. I'm 25 years old and I have ADHD. I'm kind of thinking of starting a video blog on this, which will hopefully be successful than any other video blog I've ever tried to do. I tried doing a writing blog a couple times, that didn't work out. I've had one idea for a blog for years, or okay, maybe not years, at least a few months now, that hasn't even taken off the ground. I haven't recorded a single video for it yet. And anyways, and I can't ever seem to commit to any of these, most likely because of the ADHD. So I figured, hey, why not make a blog about my ADHD? Because the thing is with the ADHD is people will joke about it. People will kind of look at someone with ADHD and just think, oh, you know, they're just a little bit scatterbrained. It's not that serious of a condition, etc., etc. But the thing is, ADHD can actually have a pretty serious impact on your life, especially on your professional life and student life, that sort of thing. So it's not just an easy disorder that, oh, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal, because it can sometimes be a big, not a huge, well, it can't even be a huge deal to some people. I never thought of it as that big of a deal for a long time. I was diagnosed when I was very young, and, well, not very young, semi-young, but I used to kind of think, oh, it wasn't that big a deal. I used to be able to joke about it, you know, say, oh, well, you know, my ADHD brain, etc., etc. But lately, I've been having a harder and harder time dealing with my symptoms, and really coming to realize that this isn't just an easy disorder. It's something that really can affect you in more ways than you can even think of. There's a lot of stuff that I do that I used to, like, even knowing all I do about ADHD, I used to think, oh, well, I'm just scatterbrained. Oh, well, you know, that's just me. That's just how I am. And then starting looking it up, I was like, oh, wait, no, that's the ADHD. That's why I'm struggling with that. And kind of started finally realizing that, you know, I might need help with this. And I'm kind of also hoping that this video will help. Just talking about it will hopefully help. So just to give a little bit of history, I was first diagnosed when I was in the 7th grade. At the time, I was put on Ritalin. That lasted a week because I got ridiculously paranoid on Ritalin. It was to the point where even my parents were like, okay, you know what? We'll deal with the ADHD on our own. We're not dealing with this again. Because I was, I remember one specific situation, which I think was the trigger situation for my parents taking me off of it, was my uncle came over to visit, and he's a smoker. And I've always been a little bit bothered by cigarette smoke, but, you know, I've always kind of dealt with it. But my uncle came over, and he'd had a cigarette, and this was about an hour before I got home from school. When I got home from school, I could smell the cigarette smoke. Within about a minute, I had every window in the house open. And my parents were like, okay then, she doesn't usually mind the cigarette smoke that much. Let's, yeah, so anyway, so Ritalin and me equals paranoid freak. So that didn't last very long. So instead of going the medication route, my parents looked up different ways of dealing with ADHD without medication. So training me to write things down when I need to remember them, as well as just awareness of what ADHD, how ADHD makes me think, and tricks on how to make it work. And for the most part, it did work throughout the rest of junior high and high school. I mean, I struggled a little bit with it, but not a whole lot. I could still get by. I still had good grades. Not the best grades, but, you know, good enough grades. Grades probably would have been better without, if I would have been medicated, but, you know, it's in hindsight, but, you know, I still did well. I didn't fail anything. I never had to repeat any grades. So, I mean, all in all, I was successful in high school. College rolled around and I kind of started struggling a little bit again. So I went to talk to a therapist about my ADHD, come to find out, I was never actually officially diagnosed back then, so I'm not too sure how they were able to medicate me for it, but whatever. So I was never officially diagnosed, as it turns out. So so I got officially diagnosed, and talked to the therapist about it. Again, went over what my tricks and all that were. Still opted against medication because Ritalin was still kind of, well, not super fresh in my memory, but it was still fresh enough in my memory that I was like, I don't want to go that route. So it was, so I still opted without medication. Managed to finish college. Did have to repeat a year. That was partially, however, because of custodian strike. So it was, I think if it hadn't been for that, I might have been able to keep focus properly. But because of the custodian strike and the school closing for quite some time, it kind of jarred me out of my mental capacity to pay attention, and I just kind of lost focus and wasn't able to finish that year. So I did have to repeat a year in college. But I mean, again, just the 1 year. So again, not all that bad. And there was, you know, circumstances beyond my control that that did go towards that. So that's kind of how I dealt with it in college. Just kind of still talking to a therapist, going over my tricks, making sure that I was doing everything so that I wouldn't need those medications. Recently, I've landed a full-time retail job, which I'm not going to go into detail about that because, you know, in case some of my coworkers see this, you know, I don't want them to say, oh, she said this about me, or anything like that. So I'm not going to mention any names or specify where I work or anything like that. But I recently got full-time in a retail job in a leadership position, which at first I was doing okay with, but very recently I've been struggling more and more at work. So been giving duties to do and forgetting them and not writing everything down like I know I should be, and that sort of thing. And it's gotten to the point where my boss is noticing, you know, that I wasn't performing as well as I used to. That sort of thing. So I talked to my boss about the ADHD, which from what I've heard, I've kind of started reading up on ADHD forums, and that's not really recommended. But it was during a performance review, and pretty much everything that I was struggling with was relating to the ADHD. So I figured, you know what, if there's a time to tell him, it's now. And because I know my boss, I knew he would be supportive, which he was absolutely very supportive of this. I let him know that I'd be talking to a doctor about it because at that point, even before the review, I'd already come to the realization that that I did need to see a doctor about it. I don't know if I'll be going the medication route. I haven't had my doctor's appointment yet, but I don't know if I'll be going the medication route. But reading up on it, ADHD meds aren't as scary as I originally thought they were. And there's a lot of other options other than Ritalin, so I don't have to go back to that. But I mean, for a long time I was really scared of psychiatric meds, just because I've seen how crazy some of them can get, just from side effects and things like that. But from the readings that I've done, ADHD meds aren't that intense. They're easier to get out of. I mean, some of them are addicting, so I do have to be careful with that. But they're not, they don't quite affect you the same way as some other psychiatric meds do. So that's a good thing. But that's something I'll be discussing with my doctor. Still undecided on it, but we'll see. In the meantime, I'm waiting for my doctor's appointment. June 15th is when I'm meeting with my family doctor to get a referral with a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Again, not too sure which one I'm going to go with, but with one of them. And we'll see how that goes. If I think about it, I will keep you all updated. But we all know how the ADHD brain is. So, you know, I will try to keep this more updated than any of the other blogs I have attempted. And I will talk to you soon. If you have any questions, just leave a comment, and I will answer those questions for you. So have a good day.